back to Finance Fridays. Today we're going to talk about home buying, and more specifically, we're going to take a quick look at some of the key players involved in the home buying process.
Before even considering where to get your financing or what realtor to use, you might want to consider meeting with a HUD-certified housing counselor. Housing counselors are typically employed by nonprofits and exist to help you answer really important upfront questions, like whether you're ready to buy a home, or whether maybe your credit could use some work first. Whether your monthly budget to be makes sense based on your lifestyle. Like anything, however, there are scams out there, and I recommend that you only consider working with a HUD-certified housing counseling agency if you decide that a housing counselor's assistance would be useful to you. A list of HUD-certified housing counseling agencies is available at the link below. The next person we're going to talk about is a loan officer. When you apply for a mortgage, a loan officer is assigned to your application. That means if you apply for a mortgage online without speaking to anyone first, you might not even know who your loan officer is until after the fact. The thing is though, a loan officer does more than just oversee your application and hand out pre-qualifications. They can serve as a valuable resource by providing useful information about all the different mortgage products they have available, and that in turn can help inform your decision making before you commit to anything. So, you really should consider speaking with a loan officer before pushing that Apply Now button. And yes, you typically want to have a pre-qualification letter from your loan officer before you actually go house shopping. One more thing on loan officers. In order to be a loan officer, an individual has to be actively licensed or registered with the nationwide mortgage licensing system. If someone holds themselves out to you as a loan officer, always feel free to look them up on the NMLS website by visiting nmlsconsumeraccess.org. What's the role of a realtor, you ask? Well, realtors are real estate brokers, and that they can help you find the home of your dreams. Acting as an intermediate between you and the seller, a realtor can help you with everything from finding a home, scheduling a visit, communicating with the seller, and even making an offer to purchase the home. Since realtors are typically paid on commission, make sure to find out upfront how much of a fee your realtor is going to walk away with at closing and who will be paying for it. On the flip side, because realtors are commissioned, they can be one of your strongest advocates in moving the home buying process along if it runs into a snag. And then we have everyone's favorites, the lawyers. Real estate attorneys actually do play an important role in the home buying process, and you should be aware that the buyer, seller, and the bank each have the right to their own independent legal representation when it comes to financing and purchasing a home. A real estate attorney can help you make sure that contracts like an offer to purchase or that the purchase and sales agreement you sign are providing you with adequate protection. Like realtors, attorneys can also serve as a useful intermediate between the buyer and seller, and that can be especially useful in the context of negotiations and when things don't go the way you planned they would. Regardless of whether you or the seller decide to engage counsel, a bank lending on a home in Massachusetts will always designate a bank attorney. The bank's attorney is the one that will inevitably sit down with you at the closing table and walk you through signing the mortgage papers. The bank's attorney is also the individual that's responsible for ensuring all transactional documents have been properly recorded and that all transactional funds have been properly dispersed. Alright, where are we so far? You considered a housing counselor? Check. You have a loan officer to help you with financing? Check. Your realtor helped you find a home? Check. You engaged a real estate attorney to help navigate the contracts? Check. What's next? How about home inspectors? Unless you're super confident in your ability to self-assess the structural and other potential issues that a house might have, hiring a home inspector to take a look at the property before you buy it could end up saving you significant pain and suffering in the future. Imagine closing on your dream home and moving in, only to fall through the floor 10 minutes later. Seriously, go watch that 80s Tom Hanks movie, The Money Pit. And also, seriously consider using a home inspector when you buy a home. But wait, you ask, what about appraisers? Wouldn't an appraiser hired by my bank realize the property is riddled with termite or something similar? Not necessarily. Appraisers play an important role by making sure the home you're financing is really worth the loan you're taking out on it. But appraisers typically focus on the general characteristics of your property and how those characteristics compare to similar properties, and what those similar properties happen to be worth. An appraisal report is still quite valuable, but it may not uncover hidden defects, if there are any, that a home inspector is more likely to come across. A prospective homebuyer can consider having an appraisal done on their own, but keep in mind that the bank or whomever is likely going to require a separate appraisal. No need to pay twice if you don't have to. During the home buying process, you'll also need help from insurance agents. Insurance agents are responsible for helping you ensure you have the required insurance on your new home. The required insurance coverage varies based on a number of factors and is typically broken down into hazard insurance, and if your property is in a particular type of flood zone, flood insurance. Next is the title examiner. Title examiners are typically employed by the closing attorney to take a look at the property's history in the public records. A title examiner's goal is to make sure that the closing attorney is aware of all the liens on the property. Further, the title examiner makes sure that the alleged seller really does own the property, which is always a good thing for your sake. Any title defects would be reported by the closing attorney by the title examiner. While you'll most likely never meet them, title examiners do play an important role behind the scenes. Finally, unless your new home is to be a condominium or other unique type of property, there is the land surveyor. Unless you're selling a home, you'll likely never meet your land surveyor. Land surveyors are responsible for taking measurements at the new property and for affirming the boundary lines on a survey document that is then included in your closing package. Keep an eye on your survey and those property lines, because the next best thing you usually get after buying a new house is new neighbors.
Each of these people play an important role in your home buying experience. So be sure to do your research, and when you can, select someone whose work style and communication style aligns best with what you need. And if you want to learn more about home buying, keep an eye out for our free home buying seminars by visiting BaystateSavingsBank.com/homebuyer-seminars.